Today we're making a light and airy jelly roll filled with raspberry jam and cream. Hi, I'm Stone from the Mountaintop Kitchen, where we bake high, sweet, and bold. Let's get started. Hi, before we get to mixing everything, go ahead and preheat your oven to 400 degrees. Now, today we are making a jelly roll, and specifically a raspberry and cream jelly roll. So it's not really jelly, it's jam. And we're going to be following the King Arthur Baking Company Baker's Companion recipe for this. And this is probably a good point to say every recipe is a roadmap, a blueprint, a starting point. You don't have to follow it exactly, and we're not going to follow it exactly today. Pretty much we are, but we're going to make some changes here and there. As you get more experience baking, you'll find that you might like to do a certain thing a certain way, and that's not in the recipe, but you can change it. That's okay. Make it yours. Do what you need to do. If you're a beginning baker, you might want to stick more closely to a recipe, but every recipe is just a starting point. It's your creativity that will make it your dessert and make it so delicious. So we are going to start by whipping up our egg whites. This will be for our batter, and we're just going to put them in a bowl here. We have 4 large egg whites, and we're going to whip that up until we get firm peaks. Now, this is another point of departure from the recipe. In King Arthur's recipe, they are putting the eggs together. They're doing blending the eggs together, mixing them, beating them up. But I like to separate them out because I think it makes it for an airier, fluffier cake. So let's do it. I'm just going to add in about half of the sugar and reserve the other half for the yolk. Okay. And the reason that I'm doing the egg whites first is I don't want to have to wash my beaters off, and I can use them for the egg whites, for the yolks with no problem at all. But you can't go the other way around. So you don't want to get any yolk into the egg whites. This should take just a few minutes. And I'm also going to add in a little bit of cream of tartar to firm up the egg whites. Okay, it's just a few minutes later, and you can see we have nice peak here. So these are done. We can set this aside, and it's okay, you don't have to clean off the egg whites from your beaters. We're just going to put that to the side, and now we're going to beat our yolks. We have our 4 yolks here. Let's put those in. Okay. And a little secret is to split your eggs while your eggs are still cold. You do want to use room temperature eggs, but it's easier to separate the egg yolk from the whites if you do it while they're still cold. So separate them in advance and let them come to room temperature. And now we can add in the rest of the sugar. And you want to beat your egg yolks until the mixture forms a ribbon. So when you pull, right now we don't have a ribbon, it just falls right back into the egg yolk. But when it firms up and it's quite a bit paler, we should get a ribbon. I'm going to go ahead and put in about a teaspoon of this good vanilla from Mexico. And just plop that in here too. Okay. And keep mixing. I'm going to go ahead and put the salt in too, because it will dissolve better in a wet mixture than in a dry. So let's go ahead and put that in. All of the quantities, all the measurements will be in the description box below, here on the screen, or in my Substack newsletter. So any of those three places, you can get all of the quantities, all of the measurements for the ingredients. So don't worry. Okay, now you can see we're at the ribbon stage. The beat egg yolk and sugar falls back into the mixture, but it sits on top until it blends back in. So we're done with that. Okay. So now we're going to take our egg whites and we're going to mix them into our egg yolks. I'll put about 1/3 of it in, mix it up, and then get the second third in, and then we'll put the last third in. You just want to fold it in. You don't want to take out any of the air that we whipped in. You want to keep it nice and fluffy and airy, nice and light. Okay, let's get in about another 1/3 of this. Fold it in gently, go all the way to the bottom and back up. Bottom and back up. Cut through the middle. You want to get it all mixed in. I can see some egg white there, but it doesn't matter because we still have about another 1/3 get in there. So let's get the last 1/3 in. Get all this goodness out. Okay, and just keep folding it in. Until you see no more streaks of white. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's get rid of this. Now we have about 90 grams of cake flour. I make my own cake flour because I can't find it here. So to make cake flour, you just whisk together 3/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour and 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, and that's it. So I've already pre-sifted this. This is the cake flour plus the baking powder. So let's go ahead and just put this in. It's pre-sifted. I'm going to put it in about 1/3 again because I don't want to have any pockets of flour hanging around in there. So just again fold. You don't want to overmix. Just fold in until you see no more flour. Okay, let's put in about 1/3 more. Just doing this so I can avoid getting pockets of flour in the batter. We don't want that. We don't want any flour bombs, so to say. Okay, just fold it in. Fold it in. I still see some flour. There's quite a bit of flour lingering around. Okay, keep folding. You don't want to overmix. You just want to fold in. And let's get the last little bit. Okay. Around, through the bottom, over to the top. You're just bringing the batter from the bottom of the bowl to the top of the bowl, basically, and making sure that you're going around the sides and that you see no dry bits of flour anywhere, which I do see still. So inspect carefully. You do not want a cake with flour bombs in it, and I still see some flour down there, so I'm going to keep folding it in. We don't want flour bombs. Okay, get that little bit there. Okay, let me look in here, see if I see any more flour anywhere lingering around the bottom. No. Okay, I think pretty much we have the flour mixed in now. We don't have any flour bombs in there anywhere or pockets of flour. So To start with, I prepare the pan. And this is a jelly roll pan. It's 10 inches by 15 inches. And all I did was I buttered the bottom of it, and I put a sheet of parchment paper in there measured to 10 by 15 inches. And then I buttered that again, and then I lightly floured the whole thing and kind of tapped out all the excess flour. So let's go ahead now and get this batter into our tin. And then we'll pop it into the oven. This is a beautiful light batter. Look at that. Beautiful light batter. Okay. And we'll just dump it all out here. Look how light and airy that is. This is an angel food cake or a variety of an angel food cake. Not like the kind that you'd see in a tube pan, but you can also bake this not just on a sheet, but you could bake this actually in a springform pan if you like, and make a round version of it rather than a roll. But today we are going to make a roll. Okay, got all the batter in there, and all we need to do now is to spread it out evenly in the pan. I have an offset spatula, and I'm just going to start spreading this around, making sure I get it into the corners and as level as possible. Look how light and fluffy that is. That is so light and fluffy. And you can just turn your pan around to get a better angle as you're spreading the batter. And turn again. You want to get it up into the corners. Pretty easy to do. It's a pretty pliable batter, pretty easy to move around. It's not a thick batter. Some cake batters you really have to struggle, but this one you don't have to. Okay, that's almost there. You could also use a bench scraper or some other straight edge to get even nicer leveling. Okay, then you're going to want to tap it to get some air bubbles out that might be in there. And we're going to pop this into our 400-degree Fahrenheit conventional oven for about 12 to 14 minutes until it's nice and golden brown on top. You do want to keep an eye on it because you don't want to overbake it. If you overbake it, it's going to be hard to roll and it might crack. We don't want that. So we'll be back in about 12 to 14 minutes. Okay, while our cake is baking, we're going to lightly dust a tea towel so that we can dump our cake out on here and roll it up as soon as it comes out of the oven. So I'm just going to lightly dust this. This is a little bit bigger than the 10 by 15 size of our pan. I want to make sure you don't get any lumps in there. Let's get rid of those. And just sprinkle to cover the area liberally with the confectioner's sugar, powdered sugar, icing sugar, whatever you want to call it. Has lots of different names. This is pretty lumpy, so I've got to be careful with it that it doesn't come out as a lump. Okay. Be generous here because you do not want your cake to stick. Okay. Okay, our cake has just come out of the oven, and as you can see, it's nice and lightly golden brown. I'm going to place it here for a second, and I'm going to actually dust the top also a little bit with some of this powdered sugar. So just dust it liberally. It also gives a nice crunch to the cake after it's rolled up while you're eating it. So it doesn't hurt to add a little more powdered sugar at this point. Now, this is very hot, so you don't want to burn yourself. Simply going to take the pan and flip it over onto our tea towel covered with powdered sugar. So here's hoping it comes out. You want to do this quickly. So, boom, there we go. Sorry about that. Okay, let's lift up. This might be a little hard to lift. Get something under there. Hopefully the cake has come out. As you see, there it is. Okay, and we are going to peel off the paper the best we can. Okay, you want to be very delicate with the paper at this point because you don't want to tear your cake. So just gently, gently, gently peel the paper off. Take your time. Don't want to go too fast. Don't want to tear the cake. It's a very delicate cake. So just be careful and take your time peeling back the paper. Okay, here we go. Gently, slowly, very slowly and gently. As I said, we do not want to tear the cake. If you're lucky, the paper will come out in the pan when you tip it over. Apparently we weren't lucky today. Okay, one last little corner, gently, gently, gently. Okay, there it is. And I'm going to give it another dusting of powdered sugar on this side. Okay, this is not in the King Arthur Baker's Companion Cookbook, but I like to do it this way. It gives it a nice little crunch later. Okay, that'll do it. So now what we need to do is we need to roll this up. I like to go from the short end to the short end. It will give you a little bit of a bigger swirl on the inside. If you need to have more slices, if that makes sense, you might want to roll it the other way. But I'm going to roll it this way. Okay, and we're going to roll the towel actually into the cake. So here we go. Hopefully it's not going to crack. This first little bit might be hard. And just roll it and roll it up. Keep rolling. Don't press very hard because you don't want to deflate your cake. Stop with the seam side down. And we're just going to let this cool to room temperature before we fill it. Okay, while our cake is rolled up and cooling on a cooling rack right over here, we're going to go ahead and make our cream and raspberry filling. Now I have a chilled bowl and some chilled cream, about 1.5 cups, and I have some of this fantastic homemade raspberry jam that we made earlier. Making a quick jam is quite simple. We just took 200 grams of raspberries. We placed those into a nice saucepan, added about 63 grams of sugar to that, squeezed in 1/2 of a lemon to get some nice citrusy lemon juice flavor in there. And to that then we added, just a pinch of some sea salt. Once we got that all together, we just mixed it up. Set the heat on a medium-high heat until we get to a simmer. Blend it all together so the sugar can start to macerate the berries. And we brought that to a simmer, for a few minutes, maybe about 20 minutes. And once it boils down to where you can see the bottom of the pan, we just put that into a sieve to get most of the seeds out and press that delicious jam through the sieve. We didn't want to have too many seeds in our final cake, so we wanted to get those out, although it's okay to have a few in there. And so once we got that into the sieve, we just pressed it through the sieve and ended up with this beautiful red, delicious tasting jam. And this is all we needed. We didn't make very much. You could actually double this recipe if you like. and save some to spread on some toast or to put on some ice cream or to use later. We made just enough for our cake today. Okay, that's it. That's pretty easy. It's really important that you make sure that your bowl and all of your utensils, such as your beaters, do not have any fat on them or your cream is not going to whip up nicely. We're going to whip this up to a soft peak and add the jam. The way that you clean the bowl and you clean your beaters is with some vinegar. So let's go ahead and we really don't need to add any sugar to our whipped cream because we're going to be putting jam in there. Okay, and let's whip this to about a soft peak. This is going to be so good. You're going to love this recipe, by the way. This is it's a fairly easy recipe to make. You just have to know a few tricks and watch out for a few things that we've discussed along the way. So just keep whipping the cream. Okay, our cream is ready. We've got some soft peaks here, as you can see. Just barely turning over a little bit. That's perfect. One last stir. And we're going to add in about a third cup of this lovely raspberry jam that we made. Okay, so just plop in about a third of this, a third cup. About a third cup of this goes in. Okay, that looks good like that actually. Let's see how this looks. Just fold it in. Wow, the color is looking beautiful. Absolutely lovely. Okay, I'm trying to get most of the white streaks out, but I like to have sort of a marbled look. So I'm not going to over mix it. In fact, I'm going to put a couple more dollops in of this and just kind of whisk it through here. Okay, that's good. We're going to put this into the fridge while we're waiting for our cake to cool completely. Look at that. Excuse me while I stick my finger in here. Oh my God, that was so good. Let's go stick this in the fridge. Okay, so our cake is cooled now, so let's gently unroll it and hope it's not going to crack. Okay, just unroll gently. So far, so good. Keep unrolling. It's a little bit curled up on the ends. That's exactly what you want. Okay. And take the rest of that out. Perfect. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to transfer this over to, I think I'm going to transfer this over to my parchment paper over here because I don't want to get jam on my tea towel. So we're going to get rid of this. Just put it over here for now. And let's go ahead and put our lovely raspberry cream filling in here. Okay. We want to leave maybe about a 1/2 inch border around the edges. This is lovely. Okay, let's start spreading this. Get it up. You just want to spread it nicely. I had this in the fridge for a little while, so it's gotten a little stiff, but that's okay. Just get more of it out here. Okay. Let's get it up into this little corner area. This little rolled up area here. Just keep spreading it out up into the fold here. Okay, now we're going to roll it up. Kind of use the paper here to help you along. This time though, you do not want to roll the paper or the towel into. You don't want to be too tight with it, and be gentle, oh so gentle. We do not want this to crack. That's the last thing that we want to happen after all this work. Okay, so there we go. All right, it's rolled up, seam side down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this into the fridge for, about 10 minutes. Let it firm up a little bit, and then we'll slice it. There we go. Okay, so we had our raspberry cream roll, jelly roll, in the fridge for about 15 minutes. Now we're just going to cut the ends off, but don't worry, we're not going to waste these. We're actually going to eat these to test it. So I'm just going to cut the ends off here. I have a serrated knife. I'm just going to gently cut down through here, straight through. Cut these ends off. Oh my God, that looks wonderful. And do the same on this side. Gently, you don't want to damage anything. Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm actually going to eat this. So let's get a plate. And this is the end of the roll, so it doesn't look as pretty as you can see the end does. So let's get this out of the way. Okay, now let's try eating this. Oh, so good. Yum. Nice sponge, very raspberry and creamy. Absolutely delicious. Okay, so now what we need to do is to dust a little bit of powdered sugar on the top, as much as you like, to make it look pretty. Okay, get over on the sides. There we go. And then I'm just going to transfer this over to my serving plate, right here. And that's beautiful. Get rid of all this stuff. And there you go. A raspberry cream jelly roll. Pretty much following the King Arthur recipe. The only differences being I made adjustments for high altitude, but they also give adjustments for that in the book. And I also whipped the egg yolks and the egg whites separately to get a little bit of a fluffier, springier cake. And that's about it, I think. I added a little bit of cream of tartar into the whipped egg whites to firm them up a little bit. And here you have it. It looks beautiful. There you go. You could serve maybe about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe about 10 people with this roll. If you rolled it the other way, it'd be a little bit longer, but a little bit thinner, and you could serve even more. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe by hitting that button down there. And if you like this recipe, how about checking out this one right here? You might like it too. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time in the Mountaintop Kitchen. Bye.